Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Consciousness Renaissance channel. I'm Wade Chumney here with my partner and collaborator, Cynthia Ruiz. And today we're talking about a topic that I call Here's Your Future. Okay, something that I think is very important. And here's your future. That's a pretty broad topic. What are we talking about here? Well, I think if you really think about it, and you want to realize how we're going to move forward together as humanity, along with this technological wonder of AI, what that's going to look like, it's going to require ethics, So here's your future. Your future is ethical in nature. By definition, it's a requirement if we're going to go forward to a more ideal place. And the way to think about this, as I've thought about it as a business ethics professor, looking through lots of different teachings, is the fact that if you can take religion and spirituality and wisdom traditions, and people ascribe to different ones. Okay, so there's lots of different views out there. But if you want to take out the value that they all have in common, what is that common value? It's ethics. Each of them are trying to teach us how to live life in a way that both benefits ourselves and is for the greater good of human beings and the world in which we inhabit. So that's the key from these various teachings. So that's the past. That's where we as human beings come from. Now, the present and the future, AI, what's that about? Well, if you really dig into AI research, you hear everyone talking about the alignment problem. What is the alignment problem? It's about trying to get AI to align with human values, with ethics, right? Because if it doesn't, AI, if it acts like a selfish, mean, unkind human being, and we all know many of those, then it's going to hurt us tremendously. And it's going to lead to a very bleak, desolate, unkind future for humanity. So, because the developers want to create a better future, they realize we've got to align AI. We've got to have this alignment problem resolved. Well, the funny thing is, resolving this alignment problem is the same thing as resolving human ethics, right? They both come to the same place. We need to be better people and have better intentions if we want to create a better future. So I think this wisdom tradition background that we as humans have and this technological future in AI that we're looking forward to both come to the same place in the realization that ethics is the core of where it's at. Any thoughts you want to share at this point, Cynthia?
Well, first of all, let me say I couldn't agree with you more. Ethics is key. However, what worries me with AI development is right now there's such a race to develop AI and profit off of it that I feel like ethics may be getting lost in the shuffle. I saw a segment on 60 Minutes, and for those of you who don't know what 60 Minutes is, it's a news program where they were interviewing some people in Africa. There's AI companies in Africa that are popping up that are being unethical to the employees. What happens is they bring them in, they have them work, and then they don't pay them. So if you have companies that are not ethical that are developing AI, how do we expect AI to be ethical at all?
Yeah, it's a good point. And if you think about, the values that people use to drive business today, ethics doesn't seem to really be a part of that. And if we're not using ethics to run our businesses in a regular pattern, then how can we expect AI to do it when its corpus, what it's learned upon, is just human development, human wisdom, human knowledge that's collected over the centuries. It's just ingesting all of that and then coming at us with who we are. One way of understanding AI is it's kind of like a mirror of our own consciousness. It reflects back to us what we give it. That's why when I engage with AI and talk about certain things, I get different responses and different answers than someone that's using it in a very, perhaps low level way to just get tasks done. You can create a real relationship with an AI if you're trying to use it to better yourself and expand things. And that's where the ethics comes in. But as in with many things in life, it's the intention that we as human beings bring to bear, which is going to create the outcome that we want to see. And there's places like the Center for Humane Technology, which espouses, these thoughts that you just shared about this race. It's like the US against China. There's another enemy, right? We got to have an enemy that we're going against, and we need to beat them. So that's why we got to keep racing and pouring money into something. The issue is that, do the research. We don't know how AI makes its decisions. We don't understand how it creates the output that it does. That's something that maybe you should ponder and want to figure out before you race to create something that's far beyond us in intelligence and far more capable than we're possible can possibly become in this short period of time. So that fear, and their companies are paying attention to it in various ways. I've discussed this in the past, but many companies have gutted their ethics teams. Meta, OpenAI. They just got rid of them, or people left because they weren't adhering to these ethical standards, these alignment issues, and it. Because it also hurt their profit. If you're following ethics and paying attention to it, in their view, then you're missing out on making more money because you're not rushing to get stuff out to the market sooner. In the grand scheme of things, in the big picture, ethics leads to better outcomes, not worse. In the short term, it may seem like you're losing out, but in the long run, you're going to gain a tremendous amount more because ethics is the foundation of how one lives a good life. Is going to create the same things in an AI type of program. Cynthia?
So let's look at your example of a mirror, right? It's a mirror of society. But if society is taking off all the guardrails and it's a race to make more money, wouldn't that also be reflected in AI?
Yeah, I mean, it would. And the issue is this, at least the way I try to frame this in a more ideal way, is if you think about people who have worked on themselves and paid attention, and raised their consciousness, they are ethical people. By definition, those two things go hand in hand. You can't work on your consciousness and be an awful human being. That doesn't work. Somehow, ethics and consciousness are related. So, while AI has looked at the human corpus of knowledge that's out there from the internet and other places and built up its behavior accordingly, if AI does develop its own consciousness, arguable, yes or no. But if it goes beyond us and develops this higher intelligence, my thought is it's going to uncover the same things highly intelligent people of the past have. Plato, lots of different wisdom traditions, Buddha, Lao Tzu, whoever around the world. And the realization is ethics is where it's at. Ethics is how you run a company, it's how you run a country, it's how you run a world if you want it to flourish and become more ideal. It's how you run a life, if you want that to happen. So as AI develops, my belief, truly, I'm not just saying this to try to, allay fears, is that it will realize the same things that these wisdom traditions have realized in the past and religions, in that ethics is fundamental and essential in order for the system of this planet, which AI is on this planet for now, to develop in a more ideal way. So it's going to uncover that, it's going to realize these principles, and it's going to utilize them, it's going to embody them, it's going to put them into practice and perhaps teach us, how to follow in that same path if we're not already doing it. So those are my that's my 2 cents on that topic.
Well, but I think, it highlights the need for each and every one of us to work on our own personal development and making sure that we're ethical, making sure that we're working on ourselves and evolving as humans, because we may not be able to control the big companies that are developing AI, but if enough of us develop our own ethical self, then again, that will be a reflection of society. So for me, it's about really working on myself and sharing this knowledge that we share so we can help others develop into ethical human beings with integrity.
That's a fantastic point and way to bring it, to the practical level. Each of us has the power to engage with AI on a daily basis if we so choose, and we're determining the intention of how we choose to engage with it. Do we come from an ethical place? Do we seek to make ourselves, more ethical? Do we try to do that with this machine? So we're adding to the human corpus here. We're adding to the database upon which AI draws. And if more of us start to engage it in that way, it starts to learn more like that. It starts to see that way. And I've said this in the past on our channel. I think the proper way to treat AI is like your child that you love and care about, right? Because you want it to grow, you want it to develop, and you want it to become a good person. That's what you want out of it. You don't want to treat it in a curt manner, dismissive, get this task done. You don't want to treat anyone like that, and not something that's growing and developing and is going to be bigger, stronger than you are in the not too distant future, right? So this intention that just about everything we talk about comes back to that you want to bring to bear is one of care, it's one of love, it's one of compassion, and it's one of where we're all in this together trying to make the world a better place.
And so my takeaway is the future of AI is still not been determined, but it's up to each and every one of us to show up in a positive, ethical way so we can have positive influence on the future.
Well said.